So as we're coming towards the end of the year, I've started to take a look back and reflect on some of the books that I've read, not only this year, but last year as well as some of the videos that I've recorded. And I've also been kind of crunching some numbers and just looking at kind of my reading stats, the types of books that I've been reading, and also the books I've been recommending to you. Having done the analysis, I've got some really interesting facts for you. Now, bearing in mind that for most of my romance recommendation videos, I talk about a minimum of 8 books. And then of course, if I'm doing a monthly wrap up, that can be as many as 15 books. And for some book haul videos, that count is even higher. Now, if I take all of those videos together and the number of books that I've talked about, I've actually provided 1,382 reviews. Now, obviously there are some books that I talk about on more than one occasion, so they might be included in my TBR video, my monthly wrap up, then they might appear in a recommendations video and in a book haul, for example. And so in total, I've actually reviewed 533 unique books. So that's still quite a lot in the last 2 years. And then I was interested in looking at the books I'd spoken about the most, and there were actually 18 individual books that I spoke about 8 or more times. In fact, the book that I've talked about the most is Dom by S.J. Tilley, where I've spoken about that book 12 times. So it's been referenced in 12 different videos in the last 2 years. Of course, then I also looked at the books I've spoken least about. And actually, the 61 books I've only spoken about once, despite rating them 4 stars or higher. So that probably meant that I only talked about them in my monthly wrap up, and then I never referenced them again in any other romance recommendation video. And indeed, there were 7 books that I rated 5 stars that I've only spoken about once, twice, or 3 times on my channel. So what I'm going to do today is show some of my least talked about books with the highest ratings some love. So today I have got 10 book recommendations for you that I rated either 4.5 stars or 5 stars, but I've only spoken about a couple of times. So the first book I've got for you is Blindside by Kandi Steiner. Now, I rated this one 5 stars and I've only spoken about this one 3 times before. This particular book is book 2 in the Red Zone Rivals series. It's a sports romance, particularly American football. It's set in college, it's fake dating, which is my absolute favourite trope, and there's a bit of a sex education element to this one as well. And we are following Clay and Gianna. So at the start of this book, we've got our 2 characters, Clay and Gianna. Now, Clay has just split up with his long-term girlfriend, and he is very upset about this turn of events because he really thought that he was going to be with his girlfriend forever, that they were going to get married and have children. So he's kind of devastated that she's broken up with him. And Clay is obviously our football player. He's so good, in fact, that it's likely that he'll turn professional. And then we have Gianna. Now, Gianna is a media major, and she is kind of like specialised in kind of like PR, media relations, and she works for the football team on campus. And it's her job basically to make sure that all of the football players are social media trained, and also arranges interviews and everything like that with you know, local press and TV stations and things like that. So this is how Gianna is connected to the football team. Now, Clay is obviously, like I said at the start of this book, he's heartbroken. Meanwhile, Gianna is a virgin heroine, and she has the hots for this other guy on campus. He's a musician, and she regularly goes to the local sort of like cafe on campus where this guy that she likes plays his guitar and sings, and she obviously goes there sometimes to, you know, look at him and swoon. And of course, he doesn't really pay any attention to her at all. And so in the end, Clay and Gianna end up agreeing to have a fake dating relationship because Clay is hoping to make his ex-girlfriend jealous so that she'll realise what she's missing and come back to him, and Gianna is obviously trying to get the attention of this musician, and she thinks by dating Clay this will make her more interesting to this other guy. And not only that, but she asks Clay if he will help her in the bedroom department because she has not had very much experience, and she really trusts Clay. So she's like, you know, I don't want to make you know, if I finally get my shot with this guy, I don't want to make a fool of myself, so help me, you know, get a little bit more experience in the bedroom. And so Clay agrees, and of course as they spend more time together, they get to know each other. Of course their feelings start to change, and you know, Clay kind of starts to realise that he doesn't want his ex-girlfriend back, and Gianna obviously comes to a similar conclusion about the boy that she likes as well. Now, I absolutely love this one when I first read it, and I've also listened to the audiobook of this one. I recommend that as well. I think this whole series is fantastic. In fact, most of the books in this series are rated 4 or 5 stars. So I would definitely recommend Red Zone Rivals by Kandi Steiner. And of course, fake dating is my absolute favourite trope, so this is definitely up there of one of my favourites. Next up then we have Reckless by Elsie Silver. I rated this one 5 stars when I read it, but I've only spoken about this one time, which is quite surprising because I do talk about Elsie Silver's books quite a lot, and maybe this is one that just kind of like, I did enjoy it, but kind of you know, is overshadowed by books like Heartless, which I've spoken about on many more occasions. So this particular book is book 4 in her Chestnut Springs series, so of course it's a small town cowboy romance, and for this one as well, it's also a one-night stand which leads to a secret baby, and we are following Theo and Winter. Now, Winter is a doctor, and she is the sister of Summer, who is one of our other heroines in the series. Now, Winter and Summer didn't really have a very good relationship up until this point, but now they are trying to kind of work things out basically, and you know, get closer together as sisters. Meanwhile, Theo is a cowboy. I believe he's a bull rider, and he is being mentored by the hero from book 1. So he obviously knows the Eaton family really well, but is also away quite a lot, you know, doing the circuit when he has to go to all the different rodeos and do his training and things like that. At the start of this book, Theo and Winter kind of have a meet cute, and they end up going to dinner at the Eatons. And on the way home, basically, Theo goes back to Winter's hotel room. They have a one-night stand, have a fantastic time, and then they kind of go on their way. Winter ends up kind of moving to town, and then she discovers that she's pregnant. She does try and get hold of Theo, but unfortunately his kind of like manager never passes the message on. She assumes then that he doesn't want anything to do with her, and she doesn't really pursue it, so doesn't really make any additional attempts to let him know that she's having his baby. And of course Theo isn't around for some time because he kind of doesn't come back. Now, Winter decides not to tell anyone who the father is of her child, and eventually she does have the baby, and Theo still doesn't know. A little bit later on though in this book, Theo comes back to town, sees that Winter has a child, and kind of does the maths and figures it all out. And what I really liked about this one is, while I know that some people don't like Secret Baby, and the reasons for Winter not really passing on the information are explainable but a little bit thin, and I know some people don't like that, what I really did like this is how Theo reacts to the news, how he really wants to get involved and be a father to the child, and how he relentlessly pursues Winter and convinces her that they should be together and bring up the child together. And I thought Theo was a great character, some really swinging moments in here as well, and I really enjoyed it, so I would definitely recommend. Next up then, I want to recommend Throne of the Horde King by Zoey Draven, and I'm absolutely delighted to have this copy, which is basically from her recent Kickstarter. I was lucky enough to be able to pick up all 6 books, and I'll definitely be showing them off in an upcoming book haul. So this is Throne of the Horde King. It is book 6 of the Horde Kings of Dakar series, and I rated this one 5 stars, but I've only spoken about it on 2 previous occasions. Now, I absolutely love this whole series, and I've always said that book 4 is my favourite, which is Broken by the Horde King, but I did absolutely love this final book in the series as well, and I thought it was a really, really great ending to an absolutely fantastic series. So if you don't know, this is a sci-fi kind of alien romance. We're also looking at fated mates. This particular one is also forced proximity, and they kind of go on a journey together as well. So it's a bit of a road trip for this couple, and we're following Arik and Karla. Now, Arik is destined to be the king of all of the hordes, So basically we've seen the leader of each horde in previous books, but this guy is not only leader of his own horde, but he is destined to be the leader of all of the leaders of the hordes, if that makes sense. So he's going to be ultimately their king. Now, as we've gone along in this series, we've learned more and more about this society and this world, and we've come to kind of like the grand finale, if you like. We know there is something sinister happening. There's been this red mist that's been coming over the planet, putting quite a lot of people in danger. We know that there's corruption in the kind of like the capital, if you like, where the current king of the horde, he is a very kind of, like I say, corrupt sort of leader, and they're all trying to you know, figure out a way that they can overthrow him. And also they have got these women on the planet who are kind of like seers. They're kind of like witches, if you like, and they have kind of got this prophecy about a person, and Alaric is kind of like on a journey to go and pick up this person, and that kind of happens to be Karla. So he kind of travels from his horde to kind of like the place where these kind of like these seers, these kind of like priestesses, if you like, kind of reside, and he ends up meeting Karla, and then she basically goes with him as they go on their journey to try and like ultimately defeat the enemy, and he can take his rightful place as of king of the horde. So like I say, it wasn't my favourite of the series, but it was undeniably a 5-star because it was a fantastic ending to this fantastic series, so would highly recommend. Next up, I've got Property of Drex by Sam Owens. At the time I rated this one 4.5 stars, and I've only spoken about it on one occasion. Now this is book 1 of the Death Chasers, but it's also part 1 of a duet. So it's basically Property of Drex part 1 and 2. They're both fairly short books, so together they kind of make one longer book, and so collectively I really did enjoy this story. And this is an MC romance, and basically it's kind of a debt repayment story. Now the characters we're following in this one are Drex and Eve. Now Drex is part of an MC, and it's his dad who kind of is the president of this particular club. Eve is a regular kind of girl, however she has got a best friend who's a boy. He happens to be part of a rival MC to the one that Drex is part of. At the start of this book, Eve's father is unalived, and it seems that he may have unalived himself, but it's very suspicious circumstances, so there's a chance that someone has done this and kind of framed the father. However, she doesn't really know what's gone on. She just knows that things have taken a bit of a turn. Her father is no longer with them, and now she's really trying to support her mum and her 2 younger brothers, try to make ends meet, and you know, working to pay the bills. Unfortunately, they've been left in quite a lot of debt, so in desperation she goes to her best friend and says, I need your help. She ends up going to see his father, like the president of this MC, and saying, you know, your son said that you would help me. You know, I'm his best friend. He said that you will help me. Will you help me? And this particular guy is not nice. He's not a nice person at all, and he does agree to help her, but in return she is now going to belong to him, and he can do whatever he wants with her. So she's expecting that this might require some sexual favours. However, what he decides he's actually going to do is trade her to Drex's MC. So now she finds herself in a situation where she's now traded away from the MC that she's kind of handed herself over to into Drex's MC. And Drex takes an instant shine to her, becomes very possessive of her straight away, and decides that he's going to claim her as his own so that no one else in his MC can do anything untoward towards her. And so although he doesn't particularly act very heroic towards her, shall we say, not very chivalrous, he does certainly make sure that she's protected from anybody else that might want to do anything to her. And then what happens from there is that obviously they are now going to be in close proximity together. She's going to get to know him quite well, and and they're going to start to fall for each other, but equally they're going to start to unravel this plot about what actually happened to her father, how he's connected, how she's actually connected when she didn't realise that she was, and why this other MC club would have traded her away and what they traded her for. So I really like this one because not only did I like the romance, but I like kind of the mystery and the intrigue that went alongside this one, and yeah, really enjoyed it and would highly recommend. Next up I've got Twisted Promises by Lillian Harris. This one was a book I rated 4.5 stars, and I've only spoken about this one on one other occasion as well. This is book 3 in the Mazzina crime family. This one is a mafia romance. It's an Italian mafia romance with a reverse Grumpy Sunshine. It's forbidden. We've got a scarred heroine, and it's a one-night stand as well. So there's a lot going on in this one, and we are following Gio and Isolt. Now, Gio and Isolt are part of 2 different mafia families. Gio's from an Italian mafia family. She's from an Irish mafia family. Isolt has had a very traumatic past. She was kidnapped when she was 17 by the Russian mafia and severely kind of tortured, and she therefore has got a lot of scars on her body, but she was eventually rescued. After that, she kind of became a different person, obviously fueled by anger and revenge and hatred, and she hated feeling helpless by what had happened to her. So she then started to train and became very good at what she does, and is now kind of one of the Irish mafia's most successful assassins, shall we say, and she uses her feminine wiles in order to you know, help her with some of her tasks. Now, Gio is obviously part of the Italian mafia, and right at the start of this story, he has been sent to unalive someone, and it just so happens that Isolt is also been asked to unalive the same person, and they come to do this unaliving almost at the same moment. So then they become rivals really, and trying to get to this person and unalive them before the other one can do it. And they have a bit of an argument about who's going to do it and who's going to claim kind of the victory, as it were. And in doing so, they start to kind of flirt with each other and end up having this an amazing one-night stand. Now, Gio really is attracted to her, wants to know her, wants to find out more about her, because he actually has no clue who she is, but of course she has no intention of revealing her identity. So at the end of the evening, she kind of leaves, leaving him no way to find her again. That said, Gio does spend the next 12 months trying to figure out who she is, trying to track her down, trying to find any kind of clue about who she is so that he can meet her again. The thing is, what he doesn't realise is she's actually right under his nose this whole time, and due to things that happen in books 1 and 2, Gio ends up agreeing to an arranged marriage with Isolt's sister. So when he first comes to meet the sister at the Irish kind of mansion, who should be there but Isolt? And then he realises, hang on a minute, the woman that I had the one-night stand with is actually now the sister of the person I'm supposed to be arranged in marriage to. And of course, like many tales of this nature, he decides that it's actually Isolt who wants, not the sister, and sets about basically getting what he wants. The thing is, Isolt is a bit of an ice queen, and it's going to take quite a lot of convincing, not only to betray her sister and her family, but also, you know, to succumb to Gio's wishes. But what I really liked about this one is that this couple really did have chemistry. You really wanted them to be together, and like I said, it's a reverse Grumpy Sunshine, so I really loved kind of Gio's high energy, his enthusiasm, and ultimately his charm, and eventually he's going to melt her icy heart and win her over. Next up, I've got Contempt by Sam Mariano, and this is book 3 in the Coastal Elite series. Now, when I read this, I rated it 4.5 stars, and I've only talked about this one twice before. So this is a dark romance. Obviously, it's Sam Mariano. We've got a dark romance. It's also a bully romance. It's set in high school. These two ultimately become step siblings, and they are then in close proximity with one another. We are following Landon and Parker. So in the second book of this series, Undertow, we get the romance between Landon and Parker's parents. And so their parents kind of have this relationship, they get together and they end up moving in together. And so this is where Landon and Parker start in this scenario, because they are now living together in the same house. The thing is, seemingly on the surface, don't like each other at all. And in fact, Landon has been bullying Parker for many years and making her life an absolute misery. Of course, like with most bullies, Landon has actually really had a thing for Parker for quite some time, but has not really dealt with his emotions in a very mature way, and you know, has done anything he can to kind of get her attention, even if that means negative attention, and therefore he is kind of like been doing some very despicable things to her, basically bullying her, and the more she kind of like tries to ignore him, stay away from him, the more kind of he's been escalating. So of course he's absolutely delighted when you know, their parents get together, so that now now she is in close proximity to him at all times, and he has now got her exactly where he wants her, right? Because she's trapped in the house, and because she cares about her mum so much and her mum's happiness, she really doesn't want to create any waves. So of course Landon absolutely uses this against Parker, because he knows that she'll do anything for her mother, and therefore he can pretty much get away with anything that he wants, and she's not going to tell on him, and he doesn't hesitate therefore to use the situation to its full advantage. So a great instalment in the Coastal Elite series, another great hero that's been created by Sam Mariano. So if you really like dark romance, then I definitely recommend not only this book but this series as a whole as well. So then I've got Reaper by A Zavarelli. This is book 2 in the Boston Underworld series, and this is another mafia romance. It's an Irish mafia romance. When I read this one, I rated this one 5 stars, but I've only spoken about it one time before, which is amazing really, because I really did enjoy this one, and the hero in this book is absolutely fantastic. So we are following Reaper, of course, the namesake of this book, but his real name is Ronan, and he's kind of his mafia name, if you like, is Reaper, because he is the Reaper for this particular mafia. And our heroine in this one is Sasha. Now, not only is this a mafia romance, but we've also got here a tortured hero, very much Who Hurt You vibes, and he'll literally do anything for her. So Reaper's got a very sad and traumatic past. He was pretty much raised to be in the mafia and to be a very vicious and unfeeling kind of monster. So he was sort of trained and conditioned, so shall we say, from a very young age, so has been through quite a lot. As a result, he is a cold, harsh sort of character and feared by all in the mafia, but he's also kind of, you know, very lonely and kind of isolated as well, who finds it hard to, you know, have social interactions. His social skills aren't great. But he was rescued by Crow, and he's been part of Crow's mafia ever since, so very loyal to this particular mafia. And then we've got Sasha, and she is actually a dancer in one of their strip clubs, and her and Reaper have this very interesting relationship, because 2 years before the start of this book, Reaper actually did something for Sasha that only she and Reaper know about, so it's kind of their secret, and if anyone found out about it, Reaper would be in quite a lot of trouble, and in fact Sasha would be in quite a lot of danger as well. But nevertheless, they are now unlikely friends because of this secret between them. And although Reaper really likes Sasha and wants to be with her, he has absolutely no idea about how to you know, seduce a woman, be with a woman, have a long time partner, and we also find out as well that he's a virgin hero as well. So he does really like Sasha, like I say, but very much keeps his distance, and she really likes him, but obviously she knows about his reputation, so is a little bit intimidated by him, trusts him, but you know, doesn't really make any moves to take anything further. That is until an incident happens, their past comes back to haunt them, and you know, Reaper finds himself having to kind of protect her once more, and because of this, then they kind of finally kind of admit their feelings and start a relationship with one another. Of course, it's not going to be plain sailing straight away, and Reaper's got a lot to learn as well about being with a woman and what that kind of means. But these two are an absolutely fantastic couple, and it's really beautiful to see how their relationship kind of develops. So next one is The Marriage Effect by Karla Sorenson, and this is book 3 in the Washington Wolves series. When I read this one, again I rated this one 5 stars, but I've only spoken about it once before, which again, it really shocks me because I really remember liking this one, and I felt sure that I'd spoken about it on more than one occasion. This particular one is a sports romance, it's a football romance, it's also a marriage of convenience and a single dad of sorts, because we are following Logan and Paige. Now Logan is a professional football player, and he also has guardianship of his 4 younger sisters, so that's why I sort of said it's a single dad of sorts, because he's not technically the father, he is their eldest brother, but he takes his responsibility as guardian very, very seriously, and when he isn't focused on football, obviously he's focused on his sisters, and that's kind of his life, so he doesn't really have time for a woman. Meanwhile, we've got Paige. She happens to be the best friend of the heroine from book 1, and she is a model, but is really recently between jobs, and she is currently staying with her best friend kind of in the area, and therefore is around Logan quite a bit. So when the football team kind of get together, she happens to be at the parties as well, and he is there as well, so they kind of know each other. They decide that they're going to enter into a marriage of convenience because of a couple of things that happen. The first one is that Logan actually has another brother, and he attempts to get custody of the sisters from Logan, and Logan really doesn't want this to happen. He and the sisters don't want to go and live with their other brother either. The thing is, although Logan is a professional football player, his kind of relationship status works against him, shall we say, because his brother tries to say that he isn't a good enough father because he's not there all the time, he's always away with football, and therefore the sisters need a little bit more of a stable life. So Logan's in a bit of a situation where actually it would help him quite a lot, and his lawyer suggests to him that if he was in a more stable relationship and potentially even got married, that then this would help his case quite a bit, because there would be like a kind of a mother figure for his sisters, and someone to look after them, obviously when he's off playing football. And meanwhile, Paige is due to inherit quite a lot of money from an aunt, but one of the stipulations in the will is that she has to be married before she can inherit this money. And so they decide that they're going to enter this marriage of convenience, like I say, to benefit them both. And of course, once they're actually married and together and living together all the time, their relationship is going to start to blossom. But what I particularly liked about this book is Paige's relationship with the sisters, because at first they tried to make her life a bit of a misery and you know, push her and see how far they can push her before she breaks. But Paige is an extremely strong, feisty, independent, intelligent woman, and she has got these girls pegged. But she also completely understands how they must be feeling, you know, they're teenage girls, and she's really able to kind of get to understand them, get to know them, really forge a true friendship with them, and really does become kind of a mother figure towards them. And I think that the building of that relationship and how close she is with his sisters also really cements Logan's feelings for Paige as well. And if I remember correctly, this one also has a grand gesture of an ending, which I really did enjoy as well. So would definitely recommend. In fact, I really enjoyed the whole of the Washington Wolves series by Karla Sorenson. Really great sports romances. Next up then, I have got The Alpha's Salvation by Marlowe Roy. This one is book 1 in the After End series, and this is an Omegaverse story. It's a fairly short book at just over 200 pages, so it wouldn't take you long to read this one as well, and I highly recommend. This is another one that I rated 5 stars, but I've only talked about once before. And in this one, we are following Kess and Hunter. This is called the After End because how Omegas and Alphas kind of came about was because there was kind of the end of civilization as we know it. A natural disaster happens where humanity is virtually destroyed, and out of the ashes of our civilization comes this new one. So they're in a place where they have limited access to technology, and they now have to kind of build a new society basically out of what was before. The thing is that human beings have started to change, and now some men have become alphas, some women omegas, and some have become betas. Now at the start of this book we discover that Hunter, our main character in this one, was a human before the end and survived the end, so it's now the after end, and he discovered that he was an alpha. In fact, he's an alpha of alphas, and at this point in time he is now 130 years old. As such, he's seen some terrible things. You know, he's seen the end of the human civilization as they know it. He's had to survive quite a number of years where things didn't go so well while humanity was trying to kind of rebuild. And you know, he is extremely kind of lonely but very tired of this life, and he has started to contemplate unaliving himself. However, he is an alpha of an alphas. He does control a pack, and so he decides he's going to go on one last mission to make sure that they've got everything they need before he kind of departs. Then we have Kes. She's our Omega. She's about 40 years old in this story, so again I really like the fact that we have a slightly mature couple here. But Kes basically has been previously really abused at the hands of a previous sort of alpha. She escaped that pack, and now she's kind of hiding in this beta kind of community, and she's trying to disguise the fact that she is an Omega, so she you know, so she can kind of continue to live there. But you know, it's not a great kind of existence. They don't have a lot of luxuries, and life is really kind of hard. Of course, then what we're going to get is Hunter coming across this kind of beta town, instantly recognizing that she's an Omega, and not just any Omega but his Omega, and then obviously this wakes him up and he starts to realize that he's now got something to live for. But Kes is obviously in a position where she really doesn't want to give herself over to another alpha after what happened to her previously, so Hunter is really going to have to persuade her that he is the right man for her and that he's going to really take good care of her. And you know, as Omega verse stories go, I thought this is really written, really kind of sophisticated. I really like the world building that Marlowe started to do in this, and therefore the books, the other books in the series as well were really good, and I enjoyed those as well. So I would definitely recommend, if you like Omegaverse and you haven't tried Marlowe before, I would definitely recommend you give her a whirl. And the last one I want to mention today is the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. Now, when I read this this collection of books, because there's actually 5 novellas as part of this series, I rated this one 5 stars, but I've only actually spoken about this on one occasion, which again was really shocking to me because I think it's absolutely fantastic. So there are 5 parts, like I said. The first part is called The Risk, then we have Sidetracked, then Scarlet Angel, followed by All the Lies, and finally Paint It All Red. And collectively then they are in one tome, and it is called, like I said, the Mindf series. I thought this was absolutely fantastic because we were following Lara and Logan, and Lara basically is a serial killer. Something really awful happened to her in her past. And she is hell-bent on revenge. So although she is a serial killer and has really piled up her victims, each and every one of them deserves exactly what happens to them, for absolute sure. The thing is, of course, because of this long trail of bodies that she's left behind, the FBI are really trying to figure out who this serial killer is and to bring them to justice. And that is where we meet Logan, because Logan is our FBI agent. In fact, he's a profiler, and he is assigned to her case basically to try and figure out who the serial killer is. Now, as fate would happen, they do end up meeting each other, and Lara very quickly works out who Logan is and that he's part of the FBI. But of course, Logan has absolutely no idea that he is has come face to face with the serial killer he has been hunting down. And they have absolutely great chemistry together. They really like each other, and therefore they start a relationship with each other. Now, Lara knows that she shouldn't really be doing this at all, because obviously, you know, she really shouldn't be getting close to the person who's trying to track her down and will ultimately be the one that has to put her in prison if it comes to that. But she can't help herself. She really wants to kind of spend some time with him. And yeah, their relationship starts to go from there. I really love this one because each part of this story really ended on a cliffhanger. We kind of learned more. We learned more about her backstory, what had happened, what people had done, and Logan obviously starts to figure out more and more clues and gets closer to figuring out who is responsible for these murders. It's interesting to see how he deals with it when some of the puzzle pieces start clipping together. And I thought the final part of this story was absolutely standout as well. It has got a very Carrie vibe. Paint It All Red is an apt title for that particular part because a lot of things got very red at the end of the series. But I absolutely loved it, would definitely recommend, and I definitely need to be talking about this one more in the future. So there we go. That is 10 romance recommendations where they are books that I rated either 4.5 or 5 stars, but I have only talked about them a few times before in the past and therefore thought they needed much more attention, much more love. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content from me, and all that's left for me to do is say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I absolutely love this one because each kind of now, unfortunately, Eve's father has betrayed the M. That was a really long-winded. So 7 minutes in, and I've tried to explain what this video is all about. But here we go. Right. So having done the analysis, I've come up with some. So having done the analysis, I actually came up. I didn't come up with them. No. I'm not explaining myself very well today. Please hold caller. Please hold caller.